Greetings, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I'd like to read a couple of bios. I have two special guests that I'm going to have to kick off Nurses Week, and I just celebrate every nurse out there making a difference in the midst of the challenges, in the midst of everything that you have to deal with. You still make a difference every day that you wake up and you go in to do the things that you do. So I have two powerful guests with me, and I had to at least start by reading their bios. So I have Lori Gdantez, and she is a PhD RN alumnus of PCC and a Caritas coach. She is a Watson Caring Science faculty associate and director of the Watson Caring Science Institute Caritas Coach Education Program. Lori received her PhD from the University of Colorado and Schutz Medical Campus College of Nursing and Caring Science. She holds a temporary graduate faculty position at the University of Colorado, Denver, and Schultz Medical Campus College of Nursing to serve as a content expert on dissertation committees in Watson's Unitary Caring Science. Lori has also held a position as adjunct faculty at the University of Colorado, Denver College of Nursing, facilitating a 9 credit nursing education certificate program. She recently retired from her role as Associate Director at Gannon University's Villa Maria School of Nursing, located in Erie, Pennsylvania. Lori has published, presented, and continues to be an active in research underpinned by unitary caring science, the 10 Caritas processes, and use of aesthetics. Our second guest is the one and only Julie Watson. So, Julie Watson is the executive director of Watson Caring Science Institute, a global not for profit organization dedicated to helping nurses and caregivers improve their health, well being, and peace of mind. This work evidentially reduces staff turnover, a huge financial burden to healthcare, and significantly improves patients' perception of the care they receive. Julie and Caring Science faculty and scholars offer professional development activities and consultancy to thousands of nurses in hospitals worldwide, including North America, Latin Ibero-America, and the Middle East. WCSI's theory is based on its founder, the renowned nurse theorist Dr. Jean Watson, who is Julie's mother, who has supported nurses who serve more than 100 million customers and patients throughout the world. Before joining WCSI, Julie was director of an educational literacy charity in the UK, mentored by 826 National Group. She went on to hone her skills in organizational development, maintaining her love for the arts and literature. Appreciating the value of story, she founded and is managing editor to WCSI's small imprint Lotus Library, giving voice to caring moments experienced by nurses, which are often hidden or undervalued. A Bennington College alum, Julie went on to receive her master's degree at Sussex University in UK. She is a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and honorary member of Sigma Theta Tau International Honor Society of Nursing, and of course, a Caritas coach. Julie is delighted to step into the role of executive director of Watson Caring Science Institute. Since her involvement, Julie has deepened her understanding of caring science and theory and is dedicated to supporting and living out the mission of the nonprofit to ensure her mother, Dr. Jean Watson's legacy lives on. Welcome to the episode. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am extremely honored and excited to have on this show for this Nurses Week launch Lori and Julie, the tag team from Caring Science. They are getting ready to have a fabulous conversation with me. So, welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for inviting us.
Yes, I am extremely excited. So, as I was journeying along my path, I was just thinking about the impact of Caring Science in my career, in my life, as I get ready to transition out of, where I originally was. I just start thinking, oh my God, I really need to amplify this message even more. And so for Nurses Week, because we know our nurses and healthcare workers still are in a state of challenge. And so I really, really wanted to get stories on caring science. And so Of course, you guys are like the face of caring science. And so I'm so deeply honored that you're here. So for this week, every day I plan on sharing stories from Caritas coaches and those that have been
Yay.
impacted by caring science. So I really, really am honored that you guys can kick us off so that you can give us some context of what caring science is. Because I really want to know in your own words what you think caring science is. So before we get started, I'm going to start out with Julie to for you can tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we're going to go to Lori. So go for it.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you, Charlene. I love you. I love you, Lori. Happy Nurses Week to everyone. This is such an exciting time to be here to talk about this work, which is really taking off, and people are really hungry for this work. I mean, I think in simple terms, I think the value of caring science, I think last time, Charlene, you and I spoke, it's a toolkit. So, it's a toolkit for anyone that works in a caring profession that they can refer to and use as their framework or their map in which they guides them in their practice. So I like to say that caring science is almost like with Dr. Watson's 10 Caritas processes. It's like the 10 commandments of nursing, or the kind
Yeah.
of canon of what it means to care, because the actual, it's almost like one of our board members said, she's bottled caring, because the 10 Caritas processes are completely accessible, plain language. Anyone can understand what caring is and what we do, but it's just that Dr. Watson has given voice and language to it, which is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. What about you, Lori?
Uh, Thank you again for inviting me. Love you and Julie. So grateful to be in the presence of such wonderful Caritas people. I'm so excited to be here today. For caring science, for me, it's so multidimensional. I'm honored to be here and considered as like the face of caring science, but I feel like being that face of caring science, I'm holding the space for others.
Mm,
And rippling out that love, feeling a need that's emerging. But caring science, in my own words, is similar to what Julie has already said. It is the plain language that really gives us a foundation and describes our way of being and interacting, not only in our healthcare practices, but in our personal lives. And it really shifts the focus from just that doing all the time, the tasks of our practices, to how we are and how we engage with another person with love, with intention, with compassion, with honor, and really see that individual. At the same time, caring for ourselves so that our cups are full, because we've grown up in a healthcare practice that's always like go, 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 go. And we don't think about that pause. How do we care for the caregiver? How do we teach the caregiver to care for ourselves? And Jean has given us the 10 Caritas processes, which is such a beautiful framework and such a tangible guide, to help us with that process.
mm,
So to me, caring science is just like the essence of
mm,
humanity, and
mm,
so beautifully described in such an easy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was the way that I was really introduced, I think in 2010, I got extremely burned out. And so I was actually considering leaving the profession. And then my organization brought in Caring Science. And
mm,
you guys, that candle that was dim got lit up so strong that I'm so still on fire after 13 years later. And I'm still like blazing the trail. But it really gave me the language of to do
mm,
what I was already doing. So I love how she says that you're already doing this work, but this language really helped to uh, like once you have language, you can speak. And so then I had something to actually articulate so that others can see what I was saying. And so I will never forget that moment. And then after that moment happened, Caritas process number 10 jumped into my life. And then I understood it at a deeper level. And so I so agree with you about that. And I'm so grateful for the work that Dr. Jane Watson is doing. So, in I was thinking about like maybe a caring moment or a story that you'd like to share about caring science in particular. Would you mind sharing something with the audience?
I got one
Good.
Okay.
because it's one I like to share a lot, only because it really when I found Jean was back in 2008. I was a diploma nurse, and I was very focused. A diploma graduate is very focused on the doing. And then when my children went to college, I decided to go back to school. And one of my first classes was a professional nurse in a nursing theory class, and that's where I found Jean.
Mm,
And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how I practice. There's not something wrong with me. The deep connection that you have with a patient, or with another human being, that really is that transpersonal moment when you really feel like those goosebumps. You really connect. There's nothing else existing but you two.
mm,
And the story I want to share is of a nursing student that had. And I watched her all day during clinical with a woman that she was dying, and her family was there, and she would sit by the bedside. She would see her. She would take care of her basic needs. She would comb her hair. She would talk to her. She prayed with her. She did things with her family. It was just so beautiful. It just filled my heart every time I went by that room. Well, by the end of the day, I found her at the end of a hall looking out the window. And she said to me, I can't do this anymore. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, I just can't do this anymore. And I said, well, tell me what you mean you can't do this anymore. She said, I just can't disconnect. I just can't be a robot. I hurt, I feel, and I just can't like leave it here. And I said, well, whoever told you you need to do that? And she said, I can be like that? And I said, yes. I said, you're dealing with another human being. And I felt
yes.
so strong in being able to share that with her because Jean has given us this language. And she lit up like a Christmas tree and she said, this is okay. I can cry with them. I can be happy with
Oh,
them. And I said, yes. And she spun around and went right back into that room and she never looked back. And I was honored to see her graduate. She's gone back and become a nurse practitioner. Just amazing gifts that she has. But it's that understanding and that support that we even learn as clinical faculty when we're working with a student to teach them and model beyond just what the textbook tells us to do in the competencies. And for me, this was a pivotal moment, um, understanding how much we need to integrate that into our education settings. So thank
yes.
you for letting me share that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was so beautiful. What about you, Julie?
Oh, that's so powerful. Thank you,
Yeah.
Laura. I think you touched upon something that we're working with about education and integration, and from the educational model into the hospital setting. I think that's something we might touch upon. But my story is a little bit is different. I actually um, I in my previous work, I worked for a nonprofit to offer creative teaching and learning for young people, and we always spoke about thinking about um, as a young person yourself, who was that one teacher or babysitter or uncle or aunt who really in, made a difference to you, made you feel seen and heard and valued. Often it's someone maybe not necessarily your parents, although that could be the case. But I just remember in sixth grade, this my art teacher, Dr. Kinney, was this extraordinary woman, and she just had this way of connecting to her students. And one day she was in the class, and um, it everybody was rambunctious, and she couldn't get everybody to settle down. And she took my hand and she walked me to the back of the class, and she started pretending to whisper in my ear and pointing. And we were almost carrying out an, a theatrical piece in the back. But what was so interesting is that, of course, once the other people in the room saw us doing this, they all turned and it was suddenly completely silent. And I just remembered that moment because of the way she created her own way of doing and being. And so that
Yes.
in the way that she held that class accountable was a very different model than perhaps what's traditional. And I think that's probably the case with, my mom's work is sort of going outside, as she talks about throwing the road ahead. Let's be mindful about how we do things. What's the traditional way? The paradigm that we work within now is broken, and we need to forgive it and move forward and help with healing. And so I guess that Dr. Kinney was someone who really influenced me as a young person. And that's, I think, why I fell in love with the arts. I'm still a practicing painter when I have time. You can see my painting.
Oh, wow. That's
And
beautiful.
and I always think of her, and I always, think I want to be that person that makes an impact, has a difference. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is being that one moment, that one person with that other person, that caring moment, having that connection, that really authentic connection. Perhaps that's one of my memories, anyway.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I absolutely love that. I was gonna kind of ask you guys a question. So, being in the clinical setting and how chaotic and busy it can get, and
Mhm.
how I've heard from some say that, you know what, I just don't have time. So, how can one bring that authentic presence to their patient at every touch point, every time? If you guys have any wisdom on that, that would be amazing.
Lori.
Okay. Um, I've been in practice for a long time. So, I mean, it's taken me time to get to that point, but I've discovered, and the more I've grown in caring science, is that it's not about the amount of time, it's that touch point. You can be with an individual for 5 minutes and they'll perceive it as 20 or 25. It's just really stepping into that space to really pause, check your energy before you go into a room, and make eye contact, go over to where they are, sit on the bed, touch them, and look them in the eye. And just in that moment, really be present with them, no matter how busy I ever got. Um, the words, I don't have enough time, were one of those phrases that I worked so hard never to allow it to come out of my mouth, even though I felt it, or I might have said it to my colleagues. I never shared that with a patient. I always checked it at the door. And just really being fully present, looking him in the eye. How are you? And listening, no matter how much is going on. And I mean, there's days when there's so much chaos. And I totally understand that. And you're balancing 7 or 8 different things, but it's just stopping and pausing. And getting not, not, I don't want to say allowing ourselves, but not opening the environment to getting us caught up into the doing and the tasks, and really understand that there is so much in our practices we cannot control. And it
Yeah.
took me a lot of years to get to the point where I understood that and would leave at the end of the day knowing I did the best that I could with what I had, because I'm a human being. I'm not some super nurse that wears a cape. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. But the most important piece for me when I would leave is that my patients felt cared for and cared about. But it just would sometimes take 5 minutes of your time to just walk in that room, sit down, and say, how you doing? What do you need? And just making sure that they felt cared for and heard.
That's really powerful. That makes me think of a not so caring moment that I did, and I learned the hard way. And so I knew what to do. But this particular day, I had so many rounds to do, meaning as a nurse leader, you go around and you ask how the experience is and all of that. So I saw how full the house was. And I mean, I could just feel my anxiety just like overwhelming me. And this was very early on in my journey. And so I go to this room and I began to just start shooting the questions. And I heard this little voice say, "Stop, ask her how she's doing." And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't ask her how she was doing." And so I sat there and I said, "You know what, ma'am, how are you today?" And you guys, she bawled for about 20 minutes. She just needed presence. She just needed someone there. It was nothing about anything that was going on in the hospital, but she just needed humanity. And that was such an expensive lesson for me because I actually thanked her for teaching me,
Mm,
because I had
mm,
gotten so wound up and so busy, and I was able to really make that connection with her. And I never operated the same after that moment.
mm,
And so I
mm,
do think
mm.
that there's times where, our patients do, they teach us,
Yeah,
because really it was about caring at that moment. It was about, I just need someone to talk to right now.
yeah,
So I love that you pointed that out. So
yeah.
how would you see that, Julie? What would you say in your
I
world?
well, so first of all, thank you, Charlene. That, I mean, that human to human connection, that's absolutely a beautiful example. And what, Lori talks about is that, you know, the nurse is traveling alongside the patient. And from my perspective, so I'm not a nurse. I'm a nurse ally. My mother's a nurse. My husband's a nurse, and from my lived experience. What we're finding is that it's, I get it, it's that, saying I don't have time, it's true. You're not given any time. And so I think what we're about is that top down, bottom up education within caring science, so that the managers and the CNOs are conscious of the value of caring science in this way of working, because now we are able to show that evidentially it does reduce staff turnover, which is a huge financial burden to the system, but also it improves the perception of the caring that the patients perceive. So there's sort of this, we're working on that sort of evidential data about this, but it's true. We often don't have time. And I think the other point is that, Charlene, your example is just a perfect reflection on the fact that, we are imperfect. And part of caring science, everyone's sort of, oh, it's so sickly sweet. It's actually not. It's about acknowledging the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
Being not acknowledging, yeah, I was stressed, I didn't have time, and oh, I lesson learned, or I forgive myself, or I want to change that dynamic in the future. So I think from an executive director perspective, it's working with the educational system, it's working with the CNOs, it's working with the hospital systems to ensure that they allow for the empowerment of their staff, because it's going to dramatically transform their whole structure and system, and hopefully that ripple effect within their colleagues as well, within their organizations. So that's my answer. Hope that's
I love
helpful.
it. It's
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. It really is. Julie, I'd like to kind of ask you a question, because you're executive director, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes, I
so
am.
what are you seeing, post pandemic? What are you seeing as far as the pulse of what's going on in healthcare and systems and things like
Um,
that?
well, I think when we speak about the pandemic, which was just a shock to the system in every sense of the word for everyone, but if you're there's also a kind of Buddhist teaching about cutting down the weeds or the grass so that there's new shoots can grow.
Hmm.
And I do feel that that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a huge amount of interest in the work and caring science work for a variety of different ways. As I said before, a lot of people are hearing about how this can be, a useful toolkit. It improves, with if you're on your magnet journey, this is another an excellent way to show exemplars, or as your nurse as working within a theory as a professional practice model. But I think authentically, what we're seeing now is the world has changed. As always, the world is changing exponentially and rapidly. And what's happening now is the rapid change that's occurring. It's almost like we're having to catch up with ourselves because things are developing so quickly now. But what we're finding is that this way of being in the world, actually, not only within the nurse sector, this way of honoring source and self, and wanting to contribute and find purpose and meaning in what we do ourselves, within our own self, within our families, within our communities, and within our work, is hugely important and valuable. And this is the way we hope to contribute and be of service to people. So I just want to say, as I have the floor, there's a lot of conversation about caring science is religious. It's actually, it's not about religion. So sometimes people are confused with what we are. We believe in all beliefs. But as Jean's theory, the starting point is that Jean does, the theory resides within the belief that we are all connected. So we are all part of the human family, and we are all connected to the great, a source, a higher source. And so that is not religion, but that is a belief system within which, if you're practicing caring science, that is what you may or may not be aware of.
Thank you so much for pointing that out, because honestly, when we first started, that's what a lot of the staff were telling me when we presented it. And so I remember, I can't remember Dr. Jean's response, but I emailed her and I was like, so what would I say if someone said this? And I really wish I could remember the answer, but I know she said something similar to what you said. Absolutely, because love goes beyond culture, race, everything. And so I think she kind of wrapped it up in that same way that you did. So thank you for that, because I think that helps a lot of people out as far as getting engaged with it. Your thoughts on that, Lori?
Well, thank you for asking, Julie. I love everything that you've shared, and it's like Julie said, what the changes that we are seeing, at the system level, and being the director of the Caritas Coach Education Program, I've had the honor during COVID, post-COVID, and now to walk alongside so many amazing individuals that are just looking for something, looking to reconnect with themselves, the maybe why they went into healthcare, who they are as a human being, because not everybody that's going through the Caritas Coach Education Program are healthcare professionals anymore. We have a lot of individuals that are spiritual practitioners. We have physicians. We have, blue collar workers in our community, all from all different sectors. So, I just get the feeling that in the world that we're living in right now, everyone's looking for a way to move forward, and to move forward mindfully, and to also shift that focus from, what everybody's doing in the world, to who I am and what's my contribution, and, how can I give back? And caring science really gives us that framework. And I love what Julie said about, it's not, like this cultural cult thing. It
Yeah.
is a nursing theory. It's grounded and it's evidence informed, but it just, there's no hierarchical, there's no division. So it just opens us up to just be ourselves and to really connect with each other. And in the program post pandemic, we've held the space for so many individuals that experience trauma either at their bedside or in their lives. And Jean's theory has really given them the framework to really mindfully work through some of that. Now, this is not, like mental health or psychology program,
Yeah.
but it can be an adjunct to that, for individuals that have really experienced that. But it's really connected them with a community of caregivers who just practice from the heart, see each other's humanity, who we all really are. There's no color, there's no language barriers. I mean, our programs
Mhm.
have grown exponentially in response to that. And I think that is what we're seeing. Um, it's not like what we're doing to bring people in, it's what we are providing to meet their
Yeah.
needs that they're asking us for. I mean, it's really growing in our Latin American countries, throughout Europe,
Yes.
Mhm.
throughout systems now. We just graduated our largest group of coaches. Our numbers have
Yeah.
typically been between 20 and 30. We just graduated 52.
Wow.
So I
Mhm.
think that really speaks to what the individual is looking for and seeking in their own personal lives, not just in their practices.
Lori, that is so amazing because that's what we're seeing too on the ground level. We're seeing such like we've been doing the Caring Science Academy in particular for it's been at least 2.5 years, but every class is getting bigger because what you said, the staff are hungry to find themselves again. They're hungry. And then what you referred to, Julie, is the magnet. I mean, we just like totally secured magnet with distinction. And I
Yeah.
know that Caring Science was a huge contributor because our
Mhm.
staff, I mean, I saw staff go from almost like wilted flowers
Yeah.
before, like right after the pandemic, and then to come out where we are now, energized, passionate, starting projects again, just feeling better about their lives again. And just the impact has been so tremendous that I can't stay silent about it because it was such a game changer, I believe, for our staff. And now they're in such a better whole place. And everybody's like, oh, I want to be a Caritas coach. I want to do a heart math train. I mean, there is the fire is just there. And I'm so grateful that I've got a chance to witness the transformation because it's more than just a program. It's more than just knowledge. We are actually seeing people's lives change. Some people saying that they were like at the brink of suicide and now they're ready to live again. It's powerful. It's so profound to be on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you've contributed to that, Charlene, allowing for, advocating for this work, knowing it's valuable so that you can share it to your staff as well. I think you did say something about it's almost as though um, allowing, I think one of the you mentioned earlier, it's about reminding people that it's not another thing you got to do. You're
Yeah,
already doing it. You're already
right.
doing it. Guess what? It's like, what? Really? So it's about acknowledgement. Like, I see you and I value you, and I applaud you and I encourage you to show off your skills and go deeper into your own gifts and talents. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's really, you hit it right there on the head. Go into your own gifts and talents because if you're doing something for someone else and you don't know who you are, you're gonna burn out pretty quick. But when you find meaning, when you find yourself within the Caritas processes and you see yourself doing all of the different activities, you become a different person. You become more confident. You're ready to just conquer the world because you've allowed yourself to transform from the inside out, deal with all of the trauma, forgive all of the things that you've had to forgive, and then be ready to move on. So, yeah, it's so powerful. I can just shout right here, right now, but I won't do
Yay!
that.
It really is, in just the simplest form, a framework to help you find your voice,
Yes.
really ground you and help you to find your voice. And it's just such a beautiful gift.
It
It
really
really
I,
is.
is.
I have to mention this right now because I'm hoping that by Thanksgiving, we have a new children's book that was written by a nurse,
Oh.
Jeremy Barsh, called "The Story of the Lotus Flower," and it's exactly that. It's about, no mud, no lotus. It's about a lotus flower can just fight their way through this mud and darkness, and they come and they bloom into this beautiful flower. And oh, guess what?
Mm.
You also, whatever you're going through, you are a shining light. So it's a really lovely story. So watch this space. We should hopefully have it published by then.
Oh, that's going to be great. Can't wait. Okay, well, of course, I can talk to you guys forever, but I know you have so much to do. But I
Mm.
do want to, I always like to take three wisdom gems away.
Mm.
So if each of you can give me, and I'm not even putting structure on it, just give me three wisdom gems. So Julie's top three, and then we'll go to Lori's top three. So who would like to go first?
So I just want to acknowledge, in my role, we are part of my role is letting go, but also curating. But
Hmm.
really, it's just such a pleasure and joy to be with Lori and supporting the work that she does so that she can provide accessibility and reach to this work. So I am eternally grateful for you, Lori, and I continue and love to continue this journey. And similarly, Charlene, we are not islands, and so I'm so grateful for you as you transform, or as Jean is now using, transcend, and
Mm.
develop your own gifts and talents as you move forward in a non-lineated way. So
Yes.
I think
Thank you.
my words, I guess, is, of course, it is, love. The other word is letting go. Not
Mhm.
we can't control it, but we can support it. So I guess my other word is gratitude.
Mm. That's beautiful. Now I have to go into the letting go for a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So can you unpack that just a little bit more? Because I believe that someone or several people listening need to let certain things go.
Okay.
So
And
can you help?
and yes, well, it's interesting. I was in Japan last year, and I was giving a talk at a Red Cross hospital in Tokyo about the 10 Caritas processes, and of course, one of the processes is surrender. And the translator had a difficult time with that word. What does that mean? It had a connotation of sort of giving up, and that's not what we mean. It's about, we can't control it. It's kind of goes back to Caritas process 10, allowing for mysteries. I don't have all the answers, thank goodness, because I don't have all the answers. And I just have to almost be patient sometimes and wait for the answer to show up and guide me. So I think that's what it means. It's almost like you can't control everything, even as much as I'd like to. You need to allow for space. When I was married and I was going through a divorce, and my friend said, you got to get rid of the old couch, and so in order to allow for the new couch to come into your life. And actually, that was really useful. I was holding on to stuff, and I just had
Yeah,
to let it go. And now the rest is history. Someone did come into my life, but or not. So that's what I mean.
that's
I
really
hope that
powerful.
helps.
No, that does help because, and one of the things that I like to say, we can't hold on to our history at the expense of our destiny. And so
Mm,
that is really it
beautiful.
because,
Nice.
for a period of time, people were holding on to the trauma of COVID
Mm-hmm.
19. Yes, it was
Yeah,
traumatic, but when
it
do we
was.
decide to learn from what we saw and
Right,
then
right,
move on?
right.
So, yeah, that was powerful. Thank you for
Mm,
unpacking that a little bit.
mm,
Lori?
Okay, thank you. I just want to offer my gratitude. Charlene, you are such a light, and I am so grateful for
Mm.
you and your vision and where you're stepping into your space and you're going to use your voice in such a beautiful way. And I'm so grateful that you invited us here today.
mm.
And Julie, while I have you here, I just want to say thank you for continuing to hold that container for all of us. It's not
Thank
just
you.
me, it's all of us. And we appreciate you beyond words, my friend. And we could
Yes.
not do what we do without you holding that space for us. So I love
Yes.
you.
I love you
And
too.
my
Thank you.
word, I guess you want to think about them is my gems would be, first of all, take care of yourself. It sounds like a cliche and it sounds really simple, but do it with intention. Those moments, taking care of yourself can be saying no. Taking care of yourself can be thinking if I should take on another project or something additional in the workspace. But that's caring for yourself, setting those safe boundaries so that you can be the best that you can be of yourself. My next would be honor your humanity.
Mm,
I think that we live in a society where we judge a lot,
mm,
and letting go of judging ourselves, I believe, is the most important step that we need to take.
mm,
Let go of not being okay, honor our mistakes as our gifts or our opportunities, and really love ourselves. And the
mm,
last is self compassion. And that's something that I'm still continuing to learn, to be able to really fully care for another person and not judge them. We need to be able to look in the mirror and tell ourselves that we love ourselves first and foremost. So,
mm,
those are my thoughts for everybody in this Nurses Week.
Oh my God, those were so beautiful. And yes, I am so, so excited and honored that you guys really blessed our presence today. Julia, I was thinking about when you were talking, I thought about it's a old story in the Bible about Elijah and Elisha. And
ah,
Elijah was the mentor, and Elisha was the protege, so to speak. And I kind of see you and Jean like that. And so Elijah gave Elisha a double portion, a double portion meaning
oh,
major expansion and things like that. And so I like so see that
wow,
with you and
wow,
Dr. Jean, and
wow.
it's a phrase in there that says, if you
I
see
love it.
me when I go up. And anyway, Jean is getting an opportunity to see you while she's here, and it's so beautiful, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of that. And Lori,
Mm,
I
mm,
absolutely fell in love with you when I met you. And so I am so grateful to be a part of your tribe. And
mm,
I just want you guys to know that this will always live on within me.
mm,
I'm going to constantly speak about it because it has transformed myself and systems. And it is
mhm,
doing exactly what you guys are intending for it to do. So
mm,
thank you. We honor you. We thank you for your faithfulness and carrying the vision. I know it can't be easy all the time,
mm.
but you guys make it look easy. And so you're practicing the principles as you're going through the trenches.
We hope. Thank
So, any
you.
last thoughts? And then we're going to go ahead and end.
Uh,
Yeah,
Thank
just thank
you.
you.
I keep in
Yes.
touch. We love you.
Yes.
We need to
Yeah.
see each other again. So thank
Yes.
you.
I want to thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of When the Moment Chooses You. I'm your host, Coach Charlene, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Each journey we've shared today is a reminder that when the moment chooses you, the possibilities are endless.